All right. So, bows and bow ties. Look, I want to welcome you back to Bow Travels. I am Bo, also known as the Black Opinionated Woman. So, look, I want to talk about the importance of Black travel channels. Okay. So, this is where I'm at with it. I want to start with the fact that oftentimes when you're on these platforms, they put Black content creators in a box. And for those of you who are familiar with like Black YouTube, for example, they typically want to talk about either something about the manosphere, hair, beauty, something gender war related, whatever. But it's important to see Black content creators in other genres talking about other things. And so I wanted to talk about why we need to have Black travel channels. And there are some out there, okay? But I feel like mostly you should just watch me. Just watch me. So look, I just wanted to get back to the fact that like oftentimes they put us in a box, but what we don't realize is that it's so important to have representation in these other areas. Okay, so there are Black people who like to travel. Yes, you know that. Did you know that Black people like to get on planes, trains, and get in other automobiles? I can't even get that out right. We like to get on planes, trains, and automobiles. So, yeah, you know, we get on trains and travel to distant lands. Now, I haven't done a long distance train in a while. Like, I've done them in Europe. Okay. It's so easy to move throughout Europe, per se. But I haven't done it really too much in the United States. Maybe just going from like one or two states or whatever. But yeah, okay. So it's important to show Black people who look like me, talking about other things. Like, for example, I want to talk about even like how I am being presented here. Okay. Oftentimes you'll see women who look like me, they're done up, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. But I just want to show you what a regular person looks like. You know, um, we don't have to look a certain way because oftentimes you'll see people in like content creation looking a certain way. But anyway, so I just wanted to say that we're not a monolith. Okay, we come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and yes, yes. Okay, so I think that it's important to show content creators who want people to see that there's more to what we have to offer in these content streets, right? We can talk about other things and we can talk intelligently and with a level of authority, right? I've been to many places because that's something that I enjoy doing. It is a hobby of mine. So I like to go to distant lands and different places and that type of thing. I'm just horrible about uploading content about it because when you make that kind of content, it requires you to do a lot of editing. I don't like it. I don't like it. I just don't like doing the editing portion. So I either do a really bad job of it myself or I need to like outsource it. So, but it's important for us to have that representation, right? If we can actually create more content that's different than what the typical genres are for people who look like me, well, then maybe people will be inspired to make more of that kind of content and feel more comfortable making different content. That's not to say that it doesn't exist, but what I am saying is you don't see it done en masse. At least I haven't. Okay. So oftentimes you don't see those channels are really all that popular, with the exception of a few who probably have figured out how to crack the algorithm. Um, I forget how much money is spent. I don't know. Maybe it's 2 billion. It's got to be more than 2 billion. But people who look like me contribute billions to the travel industry. Yeah. So a lot of times people don't realize that like we are out here. We are out here doing these things. We're traveling, we're experiencing things, we're doing things, we're trying new things, we're eating new things, we're meeting new people. But let me tell you the reason why it's so significant. Little things like that people take for granted, Oh, sorry. Little things that we take for granted is sometimes when you are traveling someplace or trying new things, you find a new way of doing things. Like when you go to different places, they have a method, a system or something for solving one of their local problems, which may be beneficial to us and vice versa. You want to have that influx of new ideas. When you have the same groups of people living in the same areas, you don't often get new ideas sometimes. So it's actually really good to see other people on the things that they use for medicinal purposes, how they use simple machines, how they go about relieving stress, the foods that they use maybe to reduce inflammation, whatever it is. There's so much to be learned when you travel. You get a new appreciation for what wealth looks like and what poverty looks like, what is considered comfort. Let me tell you, years and years and years ago, over 2 decades ago, I never realized how much I used washcloths, meaning I thought it was normal until I left the United States. I thought it was normal. So many of you don't know, but culturally, many of us blacks use three towels. We have one for the body, we have one for our hands, one for our face. So we use a washcloth for our body. I have a different scrubber thing for my face. And we have a towel to dry off. And then we also have a hand towel. You can also use your body towel too. But we have a separate one for our body that we don't use for our face. And a lot of people just soap up with their hands. And we're like, no, how do you exfoliate? How do you clean? It's just little things like that, little appreciations like that. When I go away, when I was younger, I used to always want to do the shot glass collection and all this stuff like that. I don't do that anymore. You know the things I like to collect sometimes? Soap. I like foreign soap. I like beauty. I like foreign beauty products. I also like foreign gadgets. I don't know why. I don't know why. I remember when I went to Japan, I was with my husband and I, we went to Tokyo, we went to Akihabara or whatever, the electronics district. I was in heaven in that gigantic, it was a 7-story. I don't know how big it was. It was like heaven. I was walking around like fangirling out, like, even when you're at the airport, stuff that you've seen before. I still like looking at the gadgets when you go into the expensive, what's the little store that's in the airport when you're at the airport, the little side stores, you get all the really expensive, whatever you need, like Pringles and soda because they can upcharge. But I like going to their little like electronic section. I don't know why. Look, can I just have my thing? Let me have my thing. But anyway, getting back to the importance of having a Black travel channel. There's so much that Black people are not being exposed to. There's many of us out here doing these things, but it's still good for Black people to see, like, let me check out this channel. What are they talking about? Why did they go here? I think if we have more Black travel channels or any other kind of channel, what happens is I think we start shifting the paradigm of thought. We start shifting the paradigm of like what content should we be watching on social media. We start exposing people, start stretching their mind, start showing a different angle of things. And there's so much that I could do and do better. I just happen to be making enough travel videos to be really good at it. But there's so much that people want to see that they should try. They're like, oh, I never even considered this. I never considered it to be within reach. A lot of times people think it's like super expensive. Sometimes it's not. Getting to Iceland is probably, I think it's cheaper than going to like Disney. Now, granted, once you get to Iceland, it is kind of expensive. But getting a flight there, no. People don't even think it's within their realm of possibility. I think it's so important to have more people out here that are represented, like that represent the people, right? That look like me. And so they could think like, oh, if she can do it, so can I. Anyway, I think if we gave ourselves the opportunity to see other cultures, other people, a lot of times people are really comfortable. I think it's one of those things where they're comfortable with being comfortable at home until you go away and you find something, you try something, you're like, holy cow. Like you see like the landscape of something, you see the environment, you look around and it makes you pause. You will actually catch your breath sometimes, like, how amazing is this? I mean, breathing different air, tasting different water, tasting different foods. I think when you're talking to people and they get a chance to learn about who you are. I remember years and years and years ago, I was in college. Okay. I had just finished my freshman year and my advisor took me to China. Now, I went with a bunch of PhD students. Okay. I used to be a physics major before I actually swapped out to engineering. And I remember the physics students, they were all like PhD. they were studying intense terahertz lasers. And the abstract was written in Pig Latin or something. I didn't know what it was. I was like, this is beyond me. I had 1 year of college. And we get to like China. Okay. So I'm there with a whole bunch of like basically rocket scientists or something. And then there's me. I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I'm sitting here in China. And I remember we were taking public transportation somewhere. I think it was a bus somewhere. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was a bus somewhere. And I was talking with some of the locals and there was other travelers or whatever. This was back in 1999. So I was 18 going on 19. And I just finished my freshman year of college. And I remember because back then they didn't see as many Black people, right? I mean, China's more worldwide now. But I remember they used to come up and say things like, so where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm from the United States. And they were like, but where are you from? They could not figure out what is this, right? So I had to explain to them. I was like, I'm what you consider to be Black. They were like, wait, what? So they were like, what do you mean Black? Like, no, no, no. So they kept saying things like, why do you keep lying to us? And there was a communication barrier, but they kept saying, why are you lying to us? Because their concept of a Black person, the guy told me, I was floored because, I was coming from a very American-centric worldview. He said, Black people come from Kenya. And I paused because I was like, now here you are with a 19-year-old. I'm traveling with a bunch of people who don't look like me from my school, right? So they can't speak to this. They didn't know what was going on. And I'm in the middle of China. Now imagine meeting a group of people who don't know anything about Black people. And here I am thinking I know who I am. And I wasn't as equipped. But I was, teaching them. But long story short, I was like, well, Black people come in all kinds of colors. And so I had to explain. They were like, but why do you lie? I'm like, what do you mean lying? I'm like, no, there's Black people in the United States. We live in the United States. And I had to do the whole explanation. And once I went through like a good 5-minute explanation, they were like, oh, I was like, yes, we don't all come from Kenya. I'm only 5'6". And yeah. So anyway, long story short, so yeah, the point I'm making is when you travel outside of the United States, believe it or not, it's not just for your benefit, it's for people to learn more about you too. You're actually teaching them, they're learning about like, what is this thing you say, a Black person that's not from Kenya? That was the expectation when I went to so that was the expectation when I had gone to China. They thought all Black people looked like they were Kenyans. So the point I'm making is the importance of having a Black travel channel is you want to be able to not only expose yourself, but it also helps people understand more about who you are and the life that we live, and explain that Black people are not a monolith. We look like we look a certain kind of way. We don't look a certain kind of way. We look different. We talk differently. Everything. We are the rainbow. So anyway, that's basically what it is. We just need to basically have channels that actually show us in a different light instead of having these whacked out weirdo manifestos where everybody's talking about how much they can't stand each other. We just need to be able to show that Black content creators do talk about other types of things. We talk about things about like travel and science and investing and economics and everything else like that. But anyway, look, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video. Let me know what your thoughts are. Go ahead and leave a comment, because this is a real, and look, this is a really good time to subscribe. And the reason why I say that is because I'm perfect in every way and do no wrong. Have a good one.